Ripple has been making more moves, looking like a bank of tomorrow. Ripple and XRP are destined for greatness here. We're starting to see market participants starting to figure out Ripple has had a plan all along. Ripple is connected globally to 90% of the X market, which means they can settle to 90% of most global payments right now. This is going to be an incredible journey. I'm glad you're on this journey with us. Let's go into this information from Digital Asset Investor. We're also going to explore Ripple's new position here with Bullish. We're going to go over what that was about and why that's important. We also have some new information from the federal government here about the ISO migration is complete. What could it mean for Ripple and XRP going forward? Let's start here.
And I think Ripple is on the forefront of that. I mean, look at what they're doing for Gemini's IPO. Yeah, I think they're giving them a $75 million credit facility. Is that correct? Did you guys see that story?
Yep, that's correct.
Well, Ripple announced this morning, 51 minutes ago, congratulations to Bullish on their successful IPO. And they arranged, Bullish did a partnership with Ripple, evidently, to where they've arranged for $1.15 billion of dollars of the IPO proceeds to be paid to them in Ripple's stablecoin. So, the fact that Ripple's out there doing this should not be surprising. They now have a stablecoin. They're soon to have a banking license, I would assume. They own a large exchange in Hidden Road. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to look at the fabric that's being woven here. And
Scott Milker's like, oh shit, will they stop talking about Ripple and XRP? Oh my God, look at this guy. He's like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Man, it feels like this is starting to come together, right? People are like, oh shit, maybe I was wrong about Ripple and XRP. Ripple does actually have a plan. They are becoming a bank. XRP could be institutionally ready for world adoption, right? How much billions of dollars could be saved every single day using XRP and RLUSD over the traditional SWIFT system, right? How much longer are we going to continue giving money to these big conglomerate banks that crap all over us, that we have to go to them and beg them to give us our own money? Sick of it.
See what it looks like. I mean,
I haven't looked deeply into that, but as you describe it, it seems like Ripple is really skating to where the puck's at with the institutional and government side of crypto. Like they have the money, they have the power, they have the, I guess, regulatory clarity now. And as you said, they can actually utilize their own stable coin to increase usage of it for all these purposes. It's pretty brilliant.
And they can cash their XRP stack in for stable coins. So it's this huge collateralized, 21st century exchange that is now offering IPO services and payment through their stable coin. That's first of its kind. It's like what's going on in Wyoming. No one's ever done that before. It's never happened. So it definitely deserves our attention.
This is what I've talked about liquidity in the crypto markets associated with, equity IPOs, right? So, Bullish and Ripple doing some things. There's liquidity being passed back and forth there.
I'm going to give you all the information you need to know in Bullish after this clip. I just want to make sure that you understand after we play this, I'm going to get into what's going on with Ripple and Bullish so you're absolutely caught up.
Here. Gemini taking a credit facility from Ripple, liquidity being passed back and forth there. There's new capital that's created literally out of thin air associated with Gemini's IPO that's happening momentarily. That's going to continue to fuel a move higher. And again, that to me, that's the reason why there's going to be a breakout to the upside that's going to be pretty extraordinary in my mind. You just can't continue to create and facilitate sizable amounts of liquidity that just goes nowhere.
It's no different than the ICO, but now we're doing IPOs on crypto exchanges, right? Which is this. Look at the ICO craze and how much liquidity that pumped into the markets. I mean, that was an incredible sight to see. It was money sloshing all around everywhere, every day. Now you're looking at Ripple doing the exact same type of a structure. And if you think about it, it's genius. If I'm going to launch my IPO and I'm a big crypto company, a Gemini, and I want to partner with somebody that can give me all the collateral that I need, all the loan that I need, the facilities that I need, time, they actually have the exchange where people can go buy it, both retail, institutional, the whole gamut. It's accessible by all human beings. How do you think you would gatekeep that type of a project? Well, you force people to buy it in your stable coin, right? And then you have more liquidity coming in. It's the exact same recipe that the ICOs did. You had to get in, if you wanted to buy a unique ICO on Binance, what did you have to hold? BNB. You had to hold Binance. So it's same. It's just happening now with IPOs, which is insane because there's so much more money in the IPOs and there's so much more traditional finance that is paying attention to this, but it's being done in a high speed rail versus an old steam locomotive. It's
all right. Let's take a look here at what's going on with Ripple and Bullish. The latest news connecting Ripple and Bullish centers on the Bullish initial public offering on the New York Stock Exchange, which closed on April 14, 2025, trading under BL ticker. What makes this IPO historic is that Bullish received $1.15 billion in proceeds using a diverse set of stablecoins, including Ripple's RLUSD stablecoin, which is issued on the XRP ledger. It marks the first time a U.S. public markets IPO has been settled entirely in stablecoins, demonstrating the growing role of Ripple's blockchain-based payment in institutional finance and capital markets. They are setting the trend here. They are showing the rest of the world that this works. You can use stablecoins to help a company IPO and do it all instantly on the blockchain, on the XRP ledger. This is the future. We just have to get more people to understand what's going on here, and then it's going to be all over but the shouting. Here are the key points. Most of Bullish's IPO proceeds were in USDC, EURC, and Ripple's RLUSD, which specifically spotlighted is successful in handling major financial transactions. After receiving the stablecoins, Bullish transferred custody to Coinbase, which now manages the assets for the public company. Bullish's CFO and Coinbase's head of institutional product both highlighted that the transaction illustrates the practicality of rising institutional confidence in stablecoins backed by formally regulated rules in the US. The collaboration evidences Ripple's infrastructure and liquidity, making RLUSD and XRP ledger integral to modern financial markets at a potential blueprint for future Wall Street deals. And man, it is so crazy. And so HSBC is even saying the timeline for crypto adoption has been accelerated. Let's find out what they're saying here. Then we're going to get into the news about ICO.
It's going to come, isn't it? Two questions. One is in terms of a sense of time. How has the sort of time horizon shortened for you in the last 12 months? Like, was something that you thought was going to happen in 5 years' time? Now, when do you think it's going to happen? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I think the whole crypto story has just been accelerated. But actually, the whole crypto story has been really fast. Bitcoin's white paper was 2008. We're 16 years in. And the US president has basically said the US wants to be a global leader and it's going to underpin the new financial markets and global financial system in 16 years. And if you add AI, which is not the topic of today's discussion, if you add AI into the equation, which is going to really help accelerate this even further, because there's a really nice, coordination between AI and blockchain and crypto, it's going to speed it up even more. And we're moving to a world where finance is going to be completely transformed. It's, people say, and it's a global financial system, but the majority of the world are not participants. And crypto is really solving the access issue. It's giving individuals with anyone around the world internet connection and a digital asset wallet to participate in financial markets.
Leveling the playing field. That is what is ringing home in my ears as she's talking.
And to have access potentially to US dollars. These are people that never could access US dollars. So it's really going to change the game, and it's going to bring more people into global financial markets, and it's going to enhance wealth creation for everyone involved. And so it's great to see administrations and regulators really starting to appreciate that side of the equation. So considering Bitcoin's 16 years old, I'd say we're doing pretty well.
Let me break this down for you. The other countries around the world are not as interested in buying US treasuries as they used to, right? US treasuries was always considered one of the safest places to invest your money because the US government is going to pay you. Now that we have all of this stuff going on around the world where we're trying to bring manufacturing, all this stuff back to America, other countries are looking, Japan, China, and the UK are looking at like, hey, maybe we don't need to buy any more US treasuries. And so some of these countries have been dumping them. And so the US all of a sudden is like, oh snap, dollar dominance is dropping around the world. China and India are trading oil and different things in yuan and not the US dollar. And the US is starting to understand we need a new buyer of US debt. Who could that be, right? And the timing couldn't have been better because that buyer is now stablecoin companies. Stablecoins are backed up by treasuries. Most treasuries, right? You're not going to have a vault with $5 billion in hundreds or 50s, right? Nobody wants to keep that much money on them, but you can have a stack of treasury bills that represents that value. That is what Tether does. That is what USDC does. That is what Ripple is doing. That is what all of these stablecoin companies are going to do. And it's making it easier for people to access dollars around the world because most of the crypto market is traded in US-backed stablecoins. So this is not only helping the US dollar remain strong, but it is the government's way out in the future. Just think of where we would be if we didn't have this right now. We'd be in some little bit more trouble than we are. But this is something that we could talk about down the road here. So the Federal Reserve Financial Services, the ISO 20022 migration is complete. It's time to start exploring the possibilities. So here is the article here. I just threw it into Perplexity. Give me the most important key points here. Let's just go here. Universal messaging language. We don't need to talk about that. We just need some unlocking crypto integrations. The first time ISO 20022 opens the door for cryptocurrencies to be natively integrated with the mainstream financial services system, US and globally. Seamless crypto fiat interoperability. ISO 20022 compatibility means ISO compliant cryptocurrencies such as XRP. Remember, it's the infrastructure, RippleNet, that is ISO compliant, and XRP could be used inside of that, okay? Digital assets can plug into existing banking rails, SWIFT networks without proprietary workarounds, reducing friction between crypto and traditional finance, enhanced security and regulatory trust. Rich metadata supports KYC and AML, allowing crypto transactions to be more easily tracked and audited, bring digital assets out of the regulatory gray area, real-time, cost-efficient cross-border payments. Cryptocurrencies attached to ISO 20022 enable payments, can offer faster settlements, lower fees, and especially for cross-border transactions with legacy systems are slower and more expensive. Tokenizing and smart contracts. The standardized messaging supports tokenized assets like stocks, bonds, and real estate, and programmable payments, making it easier for banks and fintechs to launch advanced compliant blockchain applications using smart contracts and interoperable tokens. And also, just to touch on this, because I thought this was interesting, David Schwartz posted this in 2018, but he's talking about a 51% attack on the Bitcoin network. And we just saw 2 miners reach over 51%. And so this is something that we should start talking about. I think this is why some of these institutions are like, oh shoot, this is a problem holding Bitcoin right now. If 2 mining pools collectively control more than 51% of Bitcoin's mining hash rate, it poses a serious concern, often referred to as a 51% attack. This scenario is not theoretical. There has been times in Bitcoin's history where a small number of pools have approached or briefly exceeded the 51% mark, triggering an industry-wide discussion about security risks. How does a 51% attack work? A 51% attack becomes possible when a single entity or coordinated group controls the majority of the network's mining power. This allows them to double spend coins by reversing their own transactions, prevent confirmation in other transactions, halt block production, and alter block ordering, and disrupt the network. Basically, anybody who's in control here could stop transactions. They can reverse transactions. They could actually double spend Bitcoin, which means taking money and stealing money out of the network. It is a serious, serious problem. There's probably $1 trillion worth of value inside of the Bitcoin network. So that money could be swiped out. Double spending, attackers could spend Bitcoin the one chain, then reserve the transactions on fork chain, getting their funds back and cheating exchanges and merchants. Network disruption. Honest transactions might be delayed or blocked, undermining trust and usability. Loss of trust. If users and businesses believe the network is compromised, confidence in Bitcoin price could collapse. And centralized risk. The idea of decentralized censorship resistant money is threatened if a couple parties can rewrite the history. So, this has always been a real possibility. Now we're just seeing maybe it play out. So got to be very careful who controls all this mining power. There's going to be one company in the end that controls over 51% attack. If they decide to do anything suspect, that could be catastrophic for the Bitcoin ecosystem. Or if those facilities that have all of those, miners and the hash rate and everything like that, if that is compromised, that could be even more catastrophic. But I'll leave that with you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like it and share. I'd really appreciate that. Hope you're having a great day. Aloha.
I have just built a course for beginners, intermediaries, and experts of XRP to better understand the XRP ledger and Ripple the company. If you're interested in getting that course absolutely free, there's a link down in the description. Please let me know what you think after you've taken the course. Aloha.